Well, hi everyone. Here's something we haven't done in a long time. A kitchen table repair doctor. And I know you guys, before you say, oh, you got that beautiful workshop now, Rosie out there and all that. Yeah, but it's cold today and I don't feel like going out to the workshop and everything when it's a little more comfortable in the kitchen there. You know, about a month ago, somebody was throwing out some stuff, and there was a notice: if you want some of this stuff, just pick it up and take it. And of course, when I saw something that's a combination of a clock and a radio, and now I was told it doesn't work, okay? And I plugged it in here at home and it does not work. But this is an RCA, one of the earlier transistor models of a clock alarm radio here, probably from the early 1970s, judging by the stylized RCA logo on there. And I'll bring you in a second to take a look at it, to take a look at the clock, some of the features here. But yeah, well, no time like the present to do that. But it's in pretty good shape. It's the wood. This is a real wood. It's not a veneer here, so it's like it's almost the end of the ear of the early 1970s when they were still putting wood into things. It's got a really nice fabric. It's on the grill cover for the speaker. And it's got a nice 15-watt speaker in there, so it looks like it'd be a pretty good unit. And you know what? I need a clock for the shop out there, and I thought this might really fit the bill. So let's come on down now and take a look, and we'll try to see what we're up against here, if we can even get this thing going again. And there's a lot of aspects to this unit. We have the clock aspect, we have some lighting, and we also have the radio aspect to deal with here too. So all those things have to be considered here. It has the AM and the FM. It's got AFC, which is something like it will only allow the station to carry, you know, if you're tuning your dial and you don't want to hear a lot of static between stations and stuff. The AFC allows you to just bridge from station to station without the crackling and static of a lot of radios, similar to the Hampton FM 800 tuner I restored here, that also has the AFC control on it. So, all right, I'll bring the camera in here. We're using the Polaroid Cube today for a bit of a closer look. Today coming in, and how you like this beautiful California weather today? Yuck, huh? Not good. Not good. Anyway, it's a good day to take a little bit of the afternoon and do the old kitchen table repair doctor here. And you actually saw this radio sitting out in the shop on the bench there, so I think you'd agree it's a pretty handsome clock from the 1970s with the grill face. So I'll give people a look here. Pardon the fork. And you can see what I was talking about, the stylized RCA logo there, and it has the FM and the AM. It even has a nice tone control on it. So this was no cheapo radio in the 1970s. It's got your tuning and your volume there, and as well it has an alarm feature on it too, and I guess kind of a combination snooze thing that you can push that down, I guess, when the alarm is working. So I've loosened up the back here, and you can see the wood is very nice. This is really nice. This is not pressed wood here. This is really nice wood. And although it looked like somebody spattered some liquidy paint on it, I think that'll clean up pretty good. So we'll pop the back here, and you can see it must have been after, say, 1964, because there's a zip code on it, 46201 there, and generally that's, I guess that's Indiana there, and that's so that shows you this set came about after zip code was developed. So it's definitely anywhere from the mid to late 1960s to the 1970s. Well, there's a lot of wires loose inside here. You can see the antenna. We got a big filter cap down here. I don't know whether that's good or not. There's a lot of wires busted off on the inside. The antenna's coming loose. You can see inside it's really dirty there. So I want to sort of see if I can get the front cover off. It has some of those screws there. There's Phillips screws with lock washers. You can probably see them on the inside there. And then we can set about you know, removing that so we sort of have some access to the front and the through the back here without going crazy taking this thing apart. There's also some screws on the bottom, so let me go ahead and remove those screws and then we'll see what we got. Okay, just a couple screws and that just slid right out there. So the next thing I want to do, I'd like to get the vacuum. I want to see about the separating. I want to be careful. It's got some C-rings on here, some clips. I want to be very careful about that. I also want to be careful. This is a 150 volt capacitor. You never know what kind of charge that could still be holding. And you can see this is early transistor. You can see one of the early transistors there, and this is the this must be the amplifier circuit down here. And what's interesting about that is that's actually shielded. They used to shield the transistors at that time, I guess because it was still relatively new technology, and I guess they were still thinking like the old vacuum tube days where you needed to shield your detector tube, your 12AX7 and things like that. So I want to get the vacuum with the brush now, and I want to try to get this cleaned up a little bit. So let me go hook that up now. So here we go. I've used the vacuum, as you guys saw, to clean it up a good bit. I've got the compressed air, and I guess this will be I guess that isn't even going to fit that one, but I guess this will be a collector's item soon in the Radio Shack, huh? That's kind of long gone now, but I'll put this back in here. Sometimes you shouldn't ought to fiddle with crap. Now I'll probably have a hard time getting that back in. There we go. That's our deoxid for cleaning the controls. So I'm going to get in here and hit that with a little bit of spray. Compressed air. And that does the last little bit there. And I'll bring this down here so you can see it. Yeah, it's a lot more clean there. So unfortunately we don't have a schematic for this unit or the electronic diagram that talks about the wiring and everything. That's a problem. So I'm going to have to get my you can see down below I got one wire just loose and random there, and I've got another one that you really can't see there. So I'm going to get the magnifying glass and take a look and see where that might have come off of, where that lead, it looks like that blue lead is coming all the way, that thing is coming all the way over. Well, that's not it on that side, but I'll go ahead and track that. Yeah, there it is. That's going to the output control for the speaker. So that it could explain very well why both the units we're not getting any sound out of it. And it probably is tying into the power supply too. So I'm going to get the magnifying glass and take a close look. I'm going to examine the circuit board because just on visually examining it first, I noticed that it looks like some some solder connections have cracked on the printed circuit board. So I'm going to go ahead and examine that real closely now. And that's what you got to do when you're trying to undertake a restoration project on an electronic item here. You need to examine not only the components on top, and I don't know whether this big cap is good or not, but we'll test it. You know, and that's the main big cap. There's a couple electrolytics on there that you can see in here, and one of the black ones in there. But we'll get the ESR meter out, and we'll check stuff and see what we got. But the main thing I need to do is I need to try to get this fixed on the bottom and understand where all the you know, where all the solder joints are made, and whether they're in they have any cracks to the traces on the printed circuit board. So I'm going to get the magnifying glass now and examine it. Yes. Righto, Watson, righto. What do you see, my good man? I'll go down here and take a look at the board from the downside. Make sure to get a good grasp on it. And for God's sake, make sure that this is not plugged in. And the usual standard cautions apply. You can kill yourself fiddling and working on electronic equipment. Best thing is to leave it to the restoration people, or you know, a professional shop if you wish to restore it. Okay, otherwise, you know, some of these capacitors can hold a charge, and although they may look small, they can send your butt flying across the room. So what I want to do now, I need to determine where this output here, this is feeding into this blue cable here, this blue wire is something to do with the output here, because it goes to the output transformer circuit down here, and it's routing through the bottom and up to the speaker circuit there, which could very well explain why we get no sound and stuff. So I want to examine. One indication you have is you can see the way that this lays on here. In other words, it's not leaning over in this direction. It's probably somewhere in this area here that this came off, and my clue will be to take a close look and see if it looks like a piece of wire is sticking out there. In other words, where the insulation has been taken off. And I'm going to do that now and take a look, and there's a couple different areas here, yeah, where it looks like yeah, it actually looks like this particular area up here at the top side. I'll try to bring you in here to take a look, and pardon the camera. And you can see right up there the top solder joint furthest to the right. It looks to me as if it has a a little piece of wire sticking out the end of it, like maybe this broke off. It's very common if things get jostled and knocked around, and it looks like that would be a pretty good natural position for that to be in right there. So I'm going to double check around a little more. I don't want to short anything out. I don't want to put anything in a bad place, but I'm going to go ahead and plug in the soldering iron now and let that get warmed up. It looks like I got the desoldering iron in the house here, so I'm going to go outside and get the regular soldering iron. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, while the soldering iron is hooking up, I thought it would be a great time to check the capacitors in it. And of course, capacitors in an electronic circuit, especially a small transistorized circuit or even a tube circuit, they act like batteries to store up a certain amount of electricity and then let it go. You know, and then store up a certain amount of electricity and let it go. So they make good oscillators because they take a charge up and then they release it, and depending on their rating, they can take in the charge and release it at a certain frequency or a certain number of times per second. But one of the things over time is these capacitors, their ability to store a charge degrades because they're filled with gels and electrolytic solutions, and over time they can either short out or lose that ability to hold a charge. And this is called an ESR, an MK168 transistor tester, but it also can test capacitors in what they call equivalent series resistance. And I don't want to get all technical mumbo jumbo crap, but suffice to say that this will be able to tell if these capacitors are still good without removing them from the circuit, which is really nice. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. I want to bring this in here, but you can see that big silver can there, and I don't know if you can see the writing on the side. You can see one thing that says, looks like a long arrow down there with a little negative sign and a circle in the middle of the arrow. And I'll try to point to that here using the screwdriver. But right here you can see a long black line with an arrow. That's the negative part. There's actually two capacitors, or two little batteries within this silver can. One of them, they're both rated at 150 volts, so you can imagine getting jolted with one of them. It's not like 100, it's not like a 400 volt DC, but it'll zap you. And the first one's rated at a 100 microfarads, and the second one is rated at 50 microfarads. So we want to check that. It tells you the negative there, and then you have the A. And the B is blank. It tells you there's nothing on the B spot there. So we want to go ahead and set this up on here. So I'm going to put this back on, and I'm going to ask, well, Jen is tied up over there, but I'll try to sit it up here so you can kind of see it. You probably won't be able to see the meter. It might light up a little bit. But what I'm going to try to do is actually put this on the, well, this will be one of the, this here will be the A, or the 100 microfarad. I'm going to hold this one on the, put this one, it doesn't matter which one of these three probes you use. And I'm going to use it to hold on to the, one of the other units. I can actually clip it on here. The, put it on this one over here first. There's enough of a lead sticking out the bottom that it'll stick on there. And then I want to hold this one on the black, which is the negative, coming down the can here. So I want to kind of hold that, yeah, right on this one here. And then I'll make contact with those 2 points, and I'll push that. And it's running through a battery test right now. It's okay. And it's saying that's an 82.13 microfarad with a loss of about 5.9%. Well, these are plus or minus, with equivalent series resistance of 3.8 ohms. So that's not too bad for that one capacitor in the can. So I will now shift this over to one of the other terminals here. And we'll do the same thing, holding that down on there. It's running the test again. And it's saying this one is 142.1 microfarads. I know you might not be able to see that, but it's saying 1. Well, maybe I'll try to get you down here for a little closer look. I don't know if you'll be able to see that kind of lit up. Mmaybe if I sort of lean it back like that and prop it up, you can sort of see the reading that we had of 142.1 microfarads and an equivalent ESR of about 4.3. So these are actually, these two capacitors within that silver can are still good, which leads me to believe that the other little ones on the board here, and you can see some of the other electrolytics, I don't see anything bulged out the top of them as if the electrolytic solutions and fillings went bad. I don't see any bulging caps at all in there. So I'm going to assume if the big ones, the big filter capacitors, which make the which smooth out the electrical flow, so it's not all jaggedy, and it gets rid of the AC 60 cycle, makes it a nice smooth direct current flow, nice smooth river, as opposed to a rough one going into the transformers for the output speakers. I'm going to assume that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead now and get the soldering iron, and I'm going to clean up some of these. I'm going to get my wire strippers and hook that on there. I have another internal connection that's loose here that I can't quite pick up on the camera, and I'm going to go around and hit some of these solder joints and make sure that they're okay too. So stick with me. Are we having fun yet? Yes, we are. Coming back from the dead, the RCA clock radio. Looks like we have a bad connection here. Hit that up a little bit, and there's one here also. It could use a little love, and that's got a little love now. And one over here. Get that on there. But these printed circuit boards from the 1960s and 70s. They were really built well before things got real cheap and they got real crappy. So those are the ones that I basically see. I'd like to hit this one in here. Get that one. That's okay. That's good. So I think we got them all now. Now you won't be able to see this part, but I've now got to get in here and do one more on the back side here. Welcome back. I have now plugged it in. I think I've got all the lousy connections soldered it up that I wanted. It's time now to flip her on, and we're getting a buzz, so that's always a good sound. We'll pop her on the FM, a little bit of volume. Okay, so now we got the radio working. Yeah, that's nice. The tone control seems to work okay. Not perfectly, but we'll be fixing that too. Alright, we're halfway there, but the clock is still, we don't have a functioning clock. So that's the next thing we got to do is we got something going on with the, probably the gearing is frozen in here. This thing probably sat for so many years, but we want to go ahead and take some of the deoxide here, and this stuff is great. We want to lubricate the controls so we don't have any crackling or static. And I'm also going to try lubricating the clock mechanism. I don't want to use WD-40. Let me turn this up. I don't want to use, I guess that's how you turn it up. I don't want to use WD-40 because a lot of times that acts like, after a while, it collects dust and it becomes a resistor. So I'm going to give a good spray in the back here on the clock mechanism, and give that a little bit of spin. I've got the, you'll be able to watch from the front here, is I can probably spin that. That looks to be, yeah, it looks like the alarm just came on. Yeah, because I manually turned it, so we'll put that off. And I guess to push in is how we would move, or pull out is how we, yeah, that's how we would set the clock. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more lubricating on the inside. I need to pull off these little handles down here, little knobs down there, excuse me, and get behind there and try to shoot some of the lubricant in there. Maybe we can remove a little more of this face piece, so we will see. So I'll check back with you after I get all the lubricating done. I went ahead and lubricated the potentiometers, and this is the back of them that you can see here. And it's simply a matter, they have a small little opening. I don't know if you can see that in the bottom here. Just hitting that with some lube, it will make its way into there and help lubricate the mechanism. And if you twist these back and forth, they will work, and you'll get rid of a lot of the static that develops, you know, when you turn a radio on and off or shift stations and all that. It just removes all that oxidation and stuff on them. So okay, I've also noticed that we have a bad connection up here on top, and this might explain why our clock is not working, because this thing is just sitting here and it's not making real electrical contact. It looks like something else that busted off there. So we're going to have to plug in the soldering iron again and try to take care of that, and then hope against hope, because it looks like the gearing is working okay in the back here. In other words, I'm turning that, you can see that gearing all turning and everything. So I'm hoping that that's going to be enough to have freed that up. So we shall see. So out comes the soldering iron again. Okay, I actually stripped back enough of the wire to give a good wrap around the clock energizer mechanism there. So I'm going to go ahead. I got the soldering iron good and hot again. Hopefully you can see that without too much difficulty. I will get that now and get my solder out here and get that soldered down real well. And hopefully we won't have to worry about that again, and hopefully that'll really spring this thing to life and make the complete unit. So Get that good and hot first, and then flow that solder right on there. Yeah, that's beautiful right there. So that is a yeah, that's perfect. That'll set up good right there. Let me hit that one more time a little bit. Oh, popped right off on me. So let me go stick that back on again. Flow that real good. Oh, keeps coming off there. So I'm gonna have to figure out, strip this back and clean that up a little bit in there so we can make a better contact. No wonder it's having trouble gripping in there. There's not enough metal left. So okay, let me fix that. I ended up cutting some of the insulation back here so I could really get good contact on there with the metal, and wrap it a few times and solder it. So we're going to go ahead, disconnect the soldering iron, and always remember, guys, be very careful when it comes to working with soldering irons. When I was a kid, yes, somebody 2 blocks down actually caught part of their house on fire building a piece of equipment in the basement. They forgot to unplug the soldering iron, and somebody came down and threw a bunch of papers on top of the workbench, right on top of the soldering iron. Well, you can imagine the rest of the story. So I'm going to unplug her now and get that safely out of the way. So I will now go ahead and plug in the clock. And don't you love the old days when they used to give you like a 10-foot cord when you would buy something, an appliance or something? Now you're lucky if you get 2.5 feet. So all right, well, looking inside, it looks like we now have light. Woohoo, we have some lights on the inside there. How about that? So let's turn it around here. And what do you know, guys? The clock is now working. I don't know if it's keeping correct time. We shall see. It's about 3:45. I'm going to sit this on here, and I'm going to try to adjust this for the next. We'll see if it's tracking for the next wall here. 3:45. I would think it would work okay. Everything is really feels like it's functioning really smoothly now. In the way of turning, it doesn't feel like any binding in the back. So, all right, we're getting there. 3, coming up to 3 now. So 1 more hour here. It's even got a sweep second hand that's working too. I like that. So we're going to say it's 3:47 right now, and there we go. So when we're done, we'll make sure that she's keeping time good. So let's try popping the radio on, see what we can tune in. Don't want any shorts, be careful. Volume control seems real good. This is tuning actually over here. And we don't really have the antenna hooked up yet because I left it on the side. I took it off the back. Beyond the doubt, so it's the bass and the treble are working. That's kind of cool, huh? Let's put the AFC on. We don't have the antenna hooked up. It's just nothing strong enough. Let's check AM. And of course we have fluorescent lights.
It ranks up with Tommy Lasorda going off on Kingman's performance and Lee Elia on the Cubs.
AM's working. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's see what we can do now to. I think we got it in pretty good shape. It's running. It's not running perfect. I don't have the antenna. I don't have the antenna back hooked up to it. You can see here, there's 2 loose leads on there. that go to the back of the internal antenna here up at the top part. So they're disconnected right now. So it should function a little better when it's back in the case. But I want to see if we can do something to clean up the front part here. All right, so let me turn this off a minute. Okay, and we're gonna let the time. Yeah, looks like we're right on. Looks like we're doing good for the time there. So I'm going to assume that the clock's running good. The sweep second hand is working. This is your when you're going to sleep. You can either set it for 60 minutes or 30 minutes, and then 10 minutes, whatever. And then, oops, there we go. You set that for 60 minutes, 30 minutes, or 10 minutes, and then you know, that shuts off by itself, and maybe you're asleep. You don't have to worry about turning the radio off. So you know, there's a couple other weird things in here that make me think that someone else has been in here too, and I'll show you that in 1 second. If you look in here, you can see, and let me unplug it. I always unplug something before you go sticking a pointer in the back of it. And you can see, I don't know what it is here, somebody like replaced the light bulb or something there in the shielded thing, and it looks like they wrote something on it, I don't know, to sort of remind themselves, but the light is working anyway in there. So obviously it's just flopping around loose. So I'm going to see if I can secure that a little better on the inside. So yeah, there's evidence that this radio has been worked on before, and this was the era when people still took stuff to be repaired. It wasn't quite a throwaway society yet. So let me try to get that secured a little better. Your stuff out. You can see this thing has a slot on, and that slot actually rides along this piece of plastic here, which looks like it splits the light between the clock face up here and the radio tuner dial below, which is kind of cool, or else it takes it all up into that area. I don't know, but I want to clean the bulb. Is a little dirty looking in there. Get that cleaned up a little bit, and then try to mount that in the rail again. Get it inside of there, and then get that put back on the rail and get that cleaned up. I hope you can see that okay. It's the first time I'm using the Polaroid cube, so I'm kind of hoping for the best, that we're not an out of focus mess here. So stay tuned. Try to resist touching the bulb part of the light bulb, the glass part, with your fingers. That shortens the life of it, because those oils help create a hot spot on the surface there. So I'm going to try to work this down below a little bit, this cloth, and see if I can clean up the down there. Yeah, that's plenty dirty down there where the light is supposed to go through. And I don't know if I dare remove this the whole unit here to maybe clean that glass up a little more. No guts, no glory, right? So I guess I'll try to do that. Hope I don't put a screw down there to short something out, but maybe try to get in there so that I can get that cleaned up a little bit. It looks like a lot of dirt down in that. It's preventing some of the light from shining through. So let's see what we can do without screwing this thing up too much. Oh yeah. Yep. Let's try to carefully lift this off. We've come a long way. We don't have any broken solder connections now. I don't want to lose the whole battle, because I'm going for perfection here instead of just getting it good. So we'll see. You will see when I see. That's the usual way that it is. And that does not want to come out. Well, I've got these on it. No wonder it doesn't want to come out. The front adjusters there. And there's the clock face. That's a little bit dirty there. I don't know if you can see that real well. Big part. It's got a little bit of dirt. That could be cleaned up a little bit, and definitely down through the plastic. you can see that there's definitely some dirt on that. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get that cleaned up carefully. That's a decaled surface, so I don't want to screw around too much with that. So, okay, managed to get that back together pretty good. And there we see the face of it, and everything seems to be functioning good. Got it pretty much cleaned up on the inside. Because I had it disconnected, the time is not correct on there, but the sweep second hand is moving nicely. The plastic is slightly cloudy on there, but that's fine. You know, I'm just interested in having the radio and the basic clock. So what we're going to do now is go outside and see if we can do something to get the case cleaned off, and I've got goof off here, so we'll take that out and see if we can get that cleaned off a bit. I'm using a copper pad to get some of this paint off, and then quickly wiping. I have goof off too, and it's helping to remove some of that old, I don't know, look like overspray or something had gotten onto it. And I'm going to hit it with some tongue oil when I'm done here as a finish, but I want to try to get as much of that old paint. I don't mind if some of the finish comes off of it, as long as I get most of that gray speckled paint off there, which I seem to have succeeded in doing here. So I'll wipe this down a bit more here, and then catch the sides, and it should make it a lot more handsome of a piece. It won't be perfect, but you can see a lot of that overspray is now removed. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the unit too, and then I'll check back with you guys in about 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes from now, whatever long it takes to get that cleaned up real good, and then we'll hit that with a little bit of tongue oil and polish her up. Alright guys, you can see I got most of the I can say 95% of the paint off of it, so it's now time to go get the tongue oil, the Danish oil, to give her a good rub down. Alright, we got our Danish oil, and this stuff does a really nice job. We don't need a ton of it, we're just trying to rub through where maybe it was a little thin on here, just to help highlight it a little bit. Try to even it out a little bit, and what I can actually do with the oil in there is just rub the copper pad on top, and what that'll actually do is sort of even out the finish. It'll help flow it on here and sort of even it out. Nice, it gives it a really nice rich look. And the wood protects it too. Yeah, it's really doesn't take a lot. But it does a really super nice job. Now I'm betting I'm going to get another rag. I'm going to wipe that down real good. Hit that area still a little darker than the other. I'm just evening out the top finish because it's the most noticeable on here. I'm just giving it a good rub down with the Danish oil there. So, yeah, that's about all it requires. It doesn't need a lot of finishing time, and that'll dry to a low sheen. I don't like furniture that has a gloss to it. So, all right, I'm going to let that dry a bit, and then we're going to put her back together. A little bit, but you can see it looks so handsome compared to the way that it came in here. And this doesn't have a really bright light. This is a night light. In other words, when you're in bed and it's dark, you have just enough illumination behind the clock face to be able to see what time it is or to tune the station in. So I've got the antenna hooked up now. And it is really picking up everything. Really nice. I'm really happy to have saved this really cool little 1970s clock radio. Volume works, the tone's working good.
If we were lost and felt over,
Treble, bass,
walk even closer.
it's got a nice sound.
When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only on the record. Nothing in between.
Time is perfect. Check AM.
And then next week and maybe a few more weeks after that.
Of course, we got the CFLs overhead.
Current supervisor Julie Christensen vowed to help try and save the business.
We are talking to the city attorney, and we are talking to the Office of Economic and Workforce Development to find out what tools we have to affect the outcome.
While they seem to be almost out of cards to play, I believe that there's
Okay, guys, I'm going to fiddle around a little more, and then we'll have a final wrap-up. Okay, guys, this was really a fun little project, and it only took about 2 hours, 2.25 hours to restore the exterior and get the interior running too. And I'm really happy. Thing really puts out a nice tone. The nice thing about RCA in the 1970s, it was still building top quality stuff. You know, RCA all the way from its founding in the 1920s was always synonymous with radio and good radio and good quality stuff. So this is certainly indicative of the quality that RCA built in the 1970s. So guys, thanks for being with me today for the restoration of the 1970, I guess you would call it a nightstand clock radio alarm. So, okay, thanks so much for watching this kitchen table repair doctor, and stay tuned, there's always more ahead. Thanks for watching.